SaGa Emerald Beyond is the latest brand new title to the long-running SaGa series that started back in 1989 on the Game Boy with what is known as Final Fantasy Legend in the West. Final Fantasy Legend and SaGa Frontier were relatively popular in the US at least, but the series as a whole is not well known outside of Japan. However, recently Square has been putting out remasters of the old SaGa games, including first official localizations for Romancing Saga 2 and 3. Emerald Beyond is actually the first SaGa game to launch simultaneously worldwide, and the Romancing Saga 2 remake will be the second to do so. It's clear they want to reach a wider audience. However, despite these games now being easily available, many tend to find the series difficult to approach, or maybe just lack interest in looking into it. Personally, I cannot think of a turn-based RPG with a combat system better than SaGa Emerald Beyond, and that is why I'm making this video, which I hope will pique your interest in the game or the series in general. Emerald Beyond brings back nearly all mechanics from previous games of the series in some form or another, and at a glance, the gameplay is most similar to SaGa Scarlet Grace. I find it important to be aware of these systems before getting to the meat of this video. First of all, the trademark mechanic of the series is called a glimmer, which refers to a character coming up with a new skill in the middle of combat, which then becomes available to use at will. This actually started with Romancing Saga 2, where the character would use this brand new skill instead of the one that was selected. The skill you use determines what could be glimmered, and to glimmer stronger skills, stronger foes must be fought. Finally, it comes down to luck. It's a system that unexpectedly rewards you as you fight ever stronger foes, but also allows you to intentionally grind to glimmer specific skills if you so wish. One significant change that was introduced by Scarlet Grace and kept in Emerald Beyond is that glimmers no longer replace your chosen skill that turn, but rather come after it, giving you an additional action. This fixes the problem where you would be in trouble if the originally chosen skill didn't go off. Battle rank is a mechanic for scaling up the enemies as the player completes more battles. In my experience, this is something that puts off many players, not just from SaGa games but other games with similar mechanics. You might find it to take away from your sense of getting stronger, or you might be concerned of enemies getting stronger faster than you. In Emerald Beyond, the system is very dynamic, scaling depending on how well the player is doing. In terms of raw stats, you will likely find yourself matching your opponents nearly at all times. You might think that losing is rewarding then, but because better skills and items are only found at higher battle ranks, it is motivating to challenge yourself. Battles are labeled as easy, normal, hard, or brutal. In many cases, it's up to the player's choices what the difficulty level of the battles will be, with harder battles often being more rewarding in one way or another. I find that one big advantage of the system is that whether you win or lose is rarely about stats, and much more about your strategies. In most SaGa games, being reduced to 0 HP causes the character to be unconscious and lose LP. As long as LP remains, revival is a simple matter, typically achievable with any heal. Furthermore, HP recovery and revival is automatic after combat in many SaGa games. In Emerald Beyond, LP is the only combat-related resource that carries over between battles, meaning that there is no need at all to recover allies between battles. In some games, LP is also used as a resource for particularly strong skills, which is also present in Emerald Beyond but only for one character scenario. In Emerald Beyond, much like Scarlet Grace, if LP runs out, that character will simply be unusable for a number of battles. But in Emerald Beyond, this rarely happens due to higher maximum LP values and full recovery occurring frequently. However, a surprising change in Emerald Beyond is that there is no way to heal allies in battles. Although healing has traditionally been much more limited in SaGa series than most other RPGs, where it's rare to be able to out-heal the damage you take, this change takes it a step further, effectively creating a tight limit on how long a fight can last. While the first SaGa games had limited uses of weapons, the series has then explored various ways to balance the use of skills, so that your strongest attacks cannot be used indefinitely. The Scarlet Grace switched to a system where the party has a shared pool of BP each turn, visualized by stars. Every skill consumes BP, with stronger skills costing more. You could choose to use one strong attack with one character, or maybe 3 weaker attacks with 3 different characters, or however you wish to distribute your BP. Most commonly in Emerald Beyond, BP fully recovers each turn and increases by 1 until it reaches its maximum, allowing you to use more and stronger skills as the fight progresses. The formation system in Emerald Beyond is much like what they started with Romancing Saga 2, and very similar to what Scarlet Grace has. The idea is that various formations can be unlocked and set, giving different effects to different party members depending on their position in the formation. This is often the basis for your strategies, with formations having effects such as boosting defense, spell or physical attacks, or being more or less likely to draw enemy attacks at certain positions, and so on. Moreover, in Emerald Beyond, the formation defines your starting BP and the way in which it increases, which has an even bigger impact on your playstyle. Overall, Emerald Beyond looks similar to Scarlet Grace. They are both made in Unity with similar visual style and similar structure of having an overworld with points of interest that trigger events or combat. Both games completely lack dungeon exploration, which makes these games very focused on combat. I found this off-putting at first, and I still prefer having dungeon exploration in my RPGs, but for both of these games I'm very happy to have given them a fair chance. Now, let's get into the meat of this video, the combat system of Emerald Beyond. So let's discuss the core mechanics of the game and what they bring to the table. The most integral part of the combat system is the timeline. Based on speed, other traits, formation and RNG, all characters in battle are placed on the timeline at the start of each round. This timeline displays the order in which characters in combat will act. Unlike some other turn-based games that show a timeline, here you will select the commands for each party member at once, then watch the round unfold. In this system, you can affect the timeline by using slow or fast skills, using delay effects on enemies, or skills that act in reaction to other actions. Compared to Scarlet Grace, there are now fixed positions on the timeline, rather than relative positions. The condition for united attacks is changed, and new timeline mechanics are added. In my opinion, these changes bring the gameplay to a whole other level. So let's discuss each of the aspects that go into the combat of this game. Each attack in the game covers a set amount of space on the timeline. United attacks are performed when these areas meet on the timeline, either for your allies or the enemies. This is usually easy to perform in battle as long as you have some slower and some faster attacks equipped. The benefits include attacks being guaranteed to hit and increase damage as your combo rate goes up. Furthermore, if combo rate reaches 150%, there is a chance for those characters to trigger overdrive, causing them to perform additional attacks. If combo rate reaches 200%, overdrive will be guaranteed. Each attack in the combo adds to the combo rate, rewarding bringing more characters into the united attack. Light weapon types also increase combo rate more than heavy weapons, which gives a big reason to use light weapons despite them having lower raw damage. There are also additional conditions that provide a bonus to the combo rate, one of the most important ones being when a character gets added to the combo during the turn, rather than being in it from the start. This can be achieved by killing or delaying enemies between your allies, or with conditional attacks that move your character as response to another action, for example. On top of that, killing enemies with a united attack gives a big boost to combo rate in itself. This rewards thinking ahead and predicting what will happen during the turn, which is challenging, even after hundreds of hours, keeping the combat exciting. Although enemy actions could ruin your united attack, there are also various ways you can play around or defend against your enemies, but more on that later. A showstopper is a brand new mechanic that plays into the timeline system heavily. Rather than attacking together as a group, this is a single character combo. It is triggered when there are 2 vacant spots on the timeline on both sides of the attacker. This is also considered a combo, much like a united attack, in the sense that attacks do not miss, and combo rate goes up with each attack, increasing damage. In this case, heavy weapons increase the combo rate the most. The attacks of a showstopper are picked randomly from the character's equipped skills until all of the party's BP is spent, plus 1 more attack on top of that, or until all equipped attacks are used, starting with the attack that first triggered the showstopper. Since a character can equip 8 skills at once, this combo can be very deadly. Although the attacks are picked at random, you have some control over it. For example, if you have 3 BP to spare, with a 1, 2 and 4 BP attack available, it would first use the attacks that can be afforded, and then the final attack for free. By adjusting your equipped skills and your BP at the start of a showstopper, you may be able to achieve a more preferable outcome. Moreover, showstoppers can even use conditional attacks, which are particularly strong relative to their BP cost. Overall then, showstoppers are incredibly powerful at best, but they are not easy to set up and rely on. On the other hand, it's a very significant mechanic for multiple reasons. For one, this is a major comeback mechanic. As you lose allies, showstoppers become more likely to occur as there's more space on the timeline. It also acts as a way to make use of all the BP you have, even when the party isn't full. Because of this, you needn't lose hope even if the enemy has an advantage in numbers. Enemies can also perform showstoppers, which is one of the most dangerous situations in the game. As with united attacks, you need to focus not only on your own party, but the enemies as well. These considerations between offense and defense make the combat feel more interactive. Another approach to consider is going into battle with less than a full party in order to make showstoppers more likely from the start. It's a risky strategy, but rewarding when it goes right. Now that we've covered united attacks and showstoppers, I'd like to mention spells. Normally, they take 1 or 2 turns to charge before going off, but they are often strong or have special effects. There are also many spells that hit all enemies, which is otherwise somewhat rare. Why I mention spells now is because overdrive and showstopper combos can use spells without waiting. This is very strong but difficult to pull off, since you would need to either activate these off of a spell that requires charging, or equip other attacks which might take up space from your combos. Perhaps a more common use case of spells is the fact that you spend the BP when you start charging, but the attack goes off later, essentially allowing you to transfer power from one turn to another. This is especially useful when enemies are using unknown conditionals, helping you utilize your BP safely. Now, speaking of conditionals, there are various skills that act in response to other actions. Perhaps the most impactful are interrupts. An interrupt attack makes the user jump in front of an enemy using the specified attack type, attacking them before they attack. Interrupts are unblockable and powerful relative to the BP cost, though it's good to use them when possible and avoid getting hit by them. Indeed, enemies can use them too, but as with all conditionals, they show up as question marks in the timeline. Unless you know the enemy's skills from experience, you can't know what it is. This brings us to another mechanic called quelling. Most ranged attacks have the quell property, meaning that it will cancel the target's conditional upon landing the attack. If you don't know what the enemy is doing, it's best to do this, but even attacks that can quell can trigger conditionals, so you must still be mindful of your actions. Because of this, learning the attacks of enemies is valuable, and game knowledge is rewarded. Similar to interrupts, there are also counterattacks that are otherwise similar but triggered by being attacked. Other conditionals include chain, which makes you act after the first ally to act, targeting the same enemy, and pursuit, which makes you act after the selected enemy attacking that enemy. These conditionals play heavily into the timeline system. For example, you could create a united attack in front of an enemy, then have an ally interrupt the enemy in front and join the combo that way. The other conditional attacks can be used in similar ways, but chain and pursuit do not have combo space of their own, so the attack must be placed in an existing combo area for it to join a united attack. Naturally, interrupts and pursuits are very useful for preventing enemy combos as well. All of these options together really expand your options in forming strong united attacks, or even help you move out of the way for an ally to perform a showstopper. The main defensive options are also considered conditionals. Parry gives you a chance to negate attacks towards you, while deflect allows you to take attacks intended for another ally and block. While parry is only really useful for survival, deflect has a lot of strategic use. It allows you to protect the allies that are going on the offense, ensuring that your strategy for the turn isn't ruined. Deflect is also crucial against strong attacks that affect the entire party, effectively reducing the amount of allies that get hit. These are not the only defensive options, however. The most significant form of defense is the defensive property of attacks. Depending on the weapon and skill, you may either block or have a chance to evade all attacks either before or after your turn. Depending on the direction of the defense, you may either want to act before or after the enemies on the timeline. On top of reducing damage, an additional benefit to blocking is that it protects against delay effects. And, as with most mechanics, they apply to enemies too, so it's valuable to memorize the defensive properties of enemy attacks. One more thing worth mentioning for defensive options is that counterattacks negate incoming damage when successfully triggered. Not that it's novel for an RPG, but some skills can also buff or debuff. The most common stats to buff or debuff are physical or magic attack and defense. These stack up to 3 times with a 10% effect per stack. Buffs and debuffs are permanent, but can be negated by the opposite effect. Since the effect is not large per stack, it's something to invest turns into in order to see a significant effect, though it's worth considering when to use buffs or debuffs. Status ailments play a big role in Emerald Beyond. Enemies have varying amounts of resistances to different status ailments, and status ailments are more likely to occur as the target's HP is reduced. One of the most common and basic ones is stun, which prevents the target from performing actions or defending that turn. Paralysis is much the same, but it sticks for multiple turns. Distract adds a turn to the target's spell chanting time if they are chanting a spell. Poison deals damage after the afflicted character's turn. The stench prevents the character from performing united attacks. Petrification essentially takes a character out of the battle while remaining on the timeline. Finally, there's an instant death status ailment. Mostly pretty standard stuff. Compared to some other SaGa games, you won't be able to use status ailments against bosses most of the time, or only when they are low on HP. On the other hand, many of the boss fights include adds that are weak to status ailments, so in the end it's very rare to have fights where you wouldn't be able to utilize them. And finally, now that combat actions have been largely covered, let's discuss the setup you do outside of combat. Formations, like mentioned before, are at the core of your strategy. You can unlock more formations by recruiting more characters, which can inspire new strategies. On top of 5 party members, you have a support slot, where all characters have their own unique bonus for the party. Of course, there's also equipment. Notably, most characters can equip 2 different weapons, providing versatility. Armor has defense separately for each attack element, so equipping based on the enemy can give you an advantage, but isn't really necessary. Equipment can also have status resistances and other effects, such as action order and aggro modifiers, or later on you can even get increased combo range and many other things. The equipment system is diverse, but somewhat restricted by how essential status ailment resistances are. There is also great variety in the types of characters you can have in your party, and all of them have some kind of a specialty. It's a lot to cover, so I'll focus on the key points here. Most commonly, humans have the ability to not only glimmer new techniques, but also something new to this game called custom techs. Every regular tech has a matching custom tech that is like an alternate version of it. This greatly increases humans' versatility by essentially doubling the available techs. Mechs, on the other hand, have their stats and available skills entirely determined by the equipment they are wearing. Each piece of equipment has an associated skill and stats that mechs will receive if equipped. For the most part, equipment progression follows battle rank, so you can't just pick up strong gear early and have mechs carry you. However, it's easy to get a good amount of HP for mechs, and they are also immune to most status ailments, which makes them great tanks early on, while also having access to some uniquely useful skills. Monsters have traditional stat growth, but their skills are obtained by absorbing other monsters. This is done by having them participate in killing a monster while having an available slot. You could think of them as kind of blue mages who can use the abilities of enemies. Many monster abilities provide unique utility, and monsters can deal a good amount of damage too. In addition, there's also ephemerals who have low LP, but inherit their abilities to another generation on death. Relic bearers, who are humans that can wear ability-absorbing equipment, Kugutsus, who mimic weapon abilities used by others in battle, and Cygnus and his knights, who can use unique LP-consuming techs. All in all the types of characters have unique advantages, with some of them being specific to a scenario, creating a distinct feel for that playthrough. Having explained the core mechanics of the game, it's time for me to explain why I think SaGa Emerald Beyond has one of the best turn-based combat systems of all time. The most important aspect to turn-based combat, in my opinion, is that it is diverse and engaging. It should not be about using your strongest moves against everything you come across, but about acting according to the situation at hand. The timeline system is a big factor in creating this dynamic. You may want to use a particular tech, but maybe that would put you in a worse position on the timeline than another. The basic strategy involves getting your team together for a united attack and preventing enemies from doing so, or setting up or preventing showstoppers. This is at the core of the combat system, making every encounter require some thought. This seems a bit heavy to deal with for every encounter, but it's important to note that this game doesn't have random encounters. Every battle is part of an event or optional, and there is no need to grind, so every battle can be you progressing through the game. And as you progress, you find more party members, glimmer new techs, and unlock new formations, so you can switch things up often if you want. Other than that, enemies have interrupts, counters, pursuits, and chains, or you might recognize the enemies using something dangerous that will make you reconsider your priorities for the turn. On the other hand, you may see an opportunity to interrupt an enemy, and maybe even turn that into a united attack. It's best to prepare a wide variety of techs so that you can react to the situation. Since BP is shared between the party, that is of course another factor that makes lower power techs relevant even when stronger ones are available. Another big aspect of turn-based combat is the balance between RNG and player agency. It is not fun if everything is simply up to RNG, nor is it fun if everything is fully predictable. Emerald Beyond strikes a good balance where you can see the timeline and even the enemy actions, aside from conditionals, but even then you can quell, learn what conditionals which enemies have, or otherwise play it safe. On the other hand, some of the biggest sources of RNG are enemy targeting, status ailments, evasion, glimmers, overdrive when combo rate is between 150 and 199%, and attacks during overdrives or showstoppers. These aspects do a lot to provide uncertainty for each turn, keeping you in suspense of what will happen. However, many of these risks can be mitigated or aren't detrimental for victory. It is often simply very difficult to see how the timeline might change when targets may die or get delayed during the turn, but you can generally set up the timeline to make sure that nothing terrible happens, or play more aggressively and hope for favorable RNG. Most of the time, when I lose a battle, I can point out a mistake on my part where I didn't take something crucial into account, which led to a significant advantage for the enemy. In conclusion, it rarely feels like the game is unfair towards you, but it always feels exciting, like you are not certain what will happen next. Somewhat related to the previous topic is the pacing and impactfulness in combat. As healing isn't a possibility in the game, a single battle won't be so long that losing a battle would be too upsetting, as you can simply reattempt and get back to it quickly. That's not to say battles are too short, but just right. Of course, it will also be up to you how quick you are with your actions, and you can play more or less defensively as well, so you are not forced into just one particular kind of playstyle. And with how tightly battles are balanced, each turn is important. Things like united attacks and showstoppers mean that any turn could spell your demise if you're reckless, and any turn could be your opportunity to deal massive damage. Or perhaps you will create that opportunity by setting up spells. In summary, the combat system in SaGa Emerald Beyond intuitively encourages you to use a variety of different types of characters, weapons, and attacks. It feels impactful, and when things go wrong, you can learn from it and adjust your strategy for your next attempt. The combat feels exciting, where unexpected things can happen, but even then, you are in control of who wins the battle. There's also a wide variety of options for adjusting your retinue, so there's a lot of strategic thinking involved in the combat preparation as well. For fairness, I will also mention problematic aspects of the game. When it comes to combat, there isn't much negative to say, but one such thing is how status ailments are handled. One aspect is that compared to Scarlet Grace, most bosses are now immune to status ailments, or too resistant for it to be relevant. I don't think this is a big problem, as there are often also smaller enemies in boss fights against which utilizing status ailments is rewarding, but coming from Scarlet Grace, this feels like a downgrade. The other side of things is that due to most enemies having one or more status ailments they can inflict, especially later into the game it becomes essential to have resistance to it all. When combined with the slowness of the UI, frequently switching your equipment does not feel good, and you'd rather just equip resistance to everything at once, which makes the equipment system less interesting. Perhaps being able to save presets would help here, aside from simply making the UI quicker to use. And speaking of the slow UI, trading is important for acquiring new gear. This should ideally be done between every battle, but once again the slow UI makes this feel like work. Some kind of automated trading could also help. Unfortunately, the UI feels okay in combat itself, though even that could be a bit snappier. However, the slow UI makes everything else much worse than it could be. Another aspect that relates to slowness is the lack of cutscene skips, which really shows when you replay the game, going through the same events as before. Although there is a large amount of variety in the events, it's still easy to run into the same events and wanting to skip them. I did, however, make a mod to address the slow UI and cutscenes, and you can find it linked in the description. Relating to story is also how disconnected the different worlds feel, and the overarching stories not being that strong. It does feel entertaining a lot of the time, but you might not easily feel invested in the stories. And to finish off the video, I'll mention a few other things I like about the game. This is a highly replayable game, where even playing the same scenario multiple times will likely feel significantly different each time. Sometimes, even if you make the same choices, you can play for a long time before feeling like you've seen all the game has to offer. Of course, the amount of choices adds to replayability, but the options also allow you to do more things that sound interesting and less things that don't sound quite as interesting. You may sometimes even have 7 worlds to choose from, and you can choose to do or skip optional worlds, and within those worlds are numerous choices and possible outcomes. One thing that Emerald Beyond sort of brought back is a certain kind of silliness. All the worlds are very distinct and can have all kinds of unexpected things. It feels like you never know what kind of characters you will meet and what will happen. So, these are my thoughts on SaGa Emerald Beyond. I would say I have played a wide variety of RPGs with turn-based combat, and my conclusion is that while I wouldn't dare call this the best RPG of all time, I would call it the best turn-based combat system of all time in my experience. Let me know in the comments what games you would consider to have the best turn-based combat systems. Thanks for watching.